Hello, my name's Christian. I'm a Salt Lake based artist, and we are on the third episode of a painting we're doing for the Hanzelkas. So join us. Here I am putting on grass with a skewer, a wooden skewer.
I bet you can't tell I'm a fan of um, Bob Ross
This is our happy field.
and Bill Kilden.
Katza.
Now I feel like this painting is turning into American folk art. So much for like an abstract painting, huh? It sure is nice though to sit and paint on this for a couple of days, you know? It's just so peaceful and just relaxing. It's exciting to explore your own imagination. Starts out as one thing and you go through processes and ends up something different. Once your creative processes deal with what you're generating. These do need to be a little bit longer.
Repetition, repetition, repetition. I care enough to put all those strokes of grass in there. All those colors of grass. Each blade needed to be placed.
I don't proclaim to be any fine artist. I just enjoy trying to use my imagination with what tools I have available so far. I would encourage anyone to try to do this in their own way. Because it feels really good and it's a great thing to let pour out of your soul. Let your imagination create. You don't need to be on the cover of any magazines. You don't need to even have gone through any classes. Just use the tools that you've used since you were a child. That's the way I feel about it. I just try to let loose. I'm always battling between the academic, educated way to do it and just the more inner, sort of innate
Childlike.
drive to do it. Kind of like the Indians and the natives and the earlier man that carved their images on the sides of rocks and sandstone and stuff. You'll see that a lot of my pieces, the art that I do, contains a lot of repetition. And I don't know if that's from a neurotic nature within humans, myself, or I like to think of it as caring enough to repeat over and over again these little strokes that add these little contrasting splashes of color in there that make the overall piece more enjoyable to look at, more visually stimulating with the color and the little strokes. Repetition is caring. I think it's like love. You really spend a lot of time with a piece and you begin to love it. Even if you hate it, you love it. It's just a nice way to sort of calm your spirit, too. I'll admit it's a more controlled method. Instead of just splashing the paint, brushing it fast, which I do enjoy doing with the palette knife. This reminds me of the, the potato fields back in Maine, where we would go play as children, and several times do harvest as a child. We actually go out in the fields and work for a farmer and pick potatoes. When it was harvest time, they'd let us out of school for 3 weeks out of the year, and you'd sign up for Farmer Smith or Farmer this, and hopefully get on with a bunch of your friends and get out there and pick baskets of potatoes as the harvest would go by, and fill your basket and go dump them in a wooden barrel. And as you fill the barrels, you would put your red cardboard ticket on it that had your number. And the farmer would collect your numbers, and so he would know how many barrels you picked. And they'd pay you per barrel. We had a lot
That
of
was
fun
in
doing
Caribou, Maine.
A bunch of us young middle schoolers would be on a farm and listening to the radio, goofing off between runs. The trick would be to pick as fast as you could so you had time to talk and goof around.
Good times. I love it when I speed paint.
Had another little lighter green.
There's the house in the sky. And the clouds. Clouds are fun. They're tough. Just kind of never know what you're going to end up with sometimes. It's
I like to get lots of layers
quite the
of
journey.
color. One would admit it is monochromatic, but in the overall effect, it breaks that up in a overall feel, I think. It is monochromatic. But it creates the illusion that it's not. I like this green.
I can see Barbar in that field. Maybe Curious George.
Does it feel like a grassy field to you?
Curious George might be hanging out of that barn up there.
I'd like it to feel like a children's storybook. A comforting sort of illustration. I remember as a child back in Caribou, Maine, going to the city library and opening books and smelling that ink on the paper and the imagination that the illustrations would spark in me. I just loved it. It stayed with me. I'm always trying to kind of go back and capture that feeling, or hopefully help have others feel that way when they view my stuff.
That's what it's all about. Taking that journey back. Join us in the next installment.